Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Right, so let's take a look at the chords to Give It To Me. Okay, so we're in the key of A. We've got an A major, E major, F sharp minor, and D major. It's really windy here, so if there's a lot of noise coming through, sorry about that. The blinds are rattling like my bones. So let's also look at, so we've got A major, E, F sharp minor, and D major. I also at times, when I say this is just based on the versions I've watched of Brian play, or various audio versions. We can also do an A major like this, more the kind of power chord. I'm just kind of making a bar on the second fret from the 4th, 3rd, 2nd and 1st strings. And sometimes you'll hear that generally an A6. That's usually at the end, or maybe sometimes when it's just... Also, this might be again at the end. One of those kind of long A's, which again is just that kind of bar, 4, 3, 2, 1 on the 2nd fret, and then but little finger, the 5th fret on the 1st string. There's also the A major bar chord here at the 5th. So there, maybe some of the A's that we'll be using. E major, so like before, just a regular. We've also got this kind of C version here at the 4th fret. Also maybe with the low E string as well, as it's an E major, open low E, 7th fret on the 5th, 6th fret on the 4th, and then my first finger is making a kind of a bar anywhere from the 4th to the 3rd string, or maybe the 3rd to the 1st string. But 4th fret on the 3rd string, 5th fret on the 2nd string, or 4th fret on the 1st string. Or F sharp minor, just a regular. Or we sometimes have this. Now this open version, because the bass will be playing an F sharp, we have to be careful we don't really hit this this low E string. I think it's something like an F sharp minor 11 or something like that. But it's basically 4th fret on the 5th and 4th strings, 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and open 2nd and 1st. I guess you could even use your thumb to attempt to, well, I can't really do that stretch. So there's that then, D major. I think now and again, I'm not sure even if I'll remember to include it during some of these examples, but there's a kind of a D major, it sounds at times like this. Kind of open 5th string, 4th fret on the 4th string, 2nd fret on the 3rd string, and 3rd fret on the 2nd string, and open 1st string. That might sometimes come after this kind of open F sharp minor. So on the record, it also sounds like there might be, there's a few sorts of rhythm guitars tracked. Maybe, it sounds like there's one with a capo. It was a capo or capo, I don't know. Capo or capo on the 2nd fret, and kind of like playing in it with chords. What we could say the key of G, but with a capo on the 2nd fret. They're obviously in the key of A. But live, obviously, there's only one guitar, and Brian just plays these kind of shapes. So we'll look at some of the kind of rhythms and things that he does. So we start with the chorus, and we're basically E to D to A. And with this kind of strummed pattern, which we'll look at, and then, and that A is kind of on like an offbeat, and I guess caught with the upstroke. But don't just stop and kind of follow the melody rhythmically. Oh, I can see my cat running in the background going crazy. This is a common sort of mistake I see when people often play in the rhythm side of like Brian sets of stuff. especially straight cat strut, which we'll kind of look at in depth. Don't follow the melody too much. The reason that there's so much kind of groove in what he does is because he's accenting often, maybe the melody, but also continuing with the kind of rhythmical strokes. So don't just play. We want more. I think 3 times and then E A. Now this is all just in 4, you know, just there. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. But when we finish the chorus and we're going to, we could do the chorus 2 times or 5, you know, 6 times or whatever. But when it's going into a verse and we do this final. Now, there's I suppose we should look at it just like there's an extra bar of I suppose 2/4. There's just 2 extra beats before we go into a verse. So I'm just going to play through the chorus and try and count along, and then I'll go into like the verse starts with an A, and I'll go into the verse and just sort of see, try and see what I'm getting at. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So just the last part of the chorus. And give it to me, I'm gonna give it to you. You got to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, or maybe even a 6 if you want. Give it to me, I'm gonna give it to you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or I count the E as 1, 2, or then the A as 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. You know, I guess when I first learned this, I probably wasn't even thinking about that, and that's kind of the best way. You know, I was just kind of playing along, and you know, you just feel those extra 2 beats and come in. But when you know, when you can actually think what it is, it can just help you get out of problems if you just sort of lose yourself for a moment and you find it hard to come back in. You know, that kind of thing. So, and that's really played just those kind of, especially live, just that kind of open way. Not too hard, there's a kind of jangle to it. Even live, you often see Brian sort of playing here on the neck a little bit, just a bit more of a mellow sound, and you can really get, you know, a lot out of those chords, as long as you strike them kind of, you know, true and clean and not necessarily hard. We'll save the sort of the power for when we want to create a bit more intensity. So that's kind of like the chorus, you know, that kind of thing. The very, very end, actually, we'll just, because it comes from a chorus, we'll just look at that. 3, 4. Just A major 2 times. And that can be, like I said before, this kind of... 3, 4. Sometimes, you know, whatever, slide up, but, you know, or just hit the power chord. Or there's also 3, 4. That kind of thing. So, the verse, right. So looking at the verse, just let's look at one of the most typical kind of techniques of Brian. It's his way of kind of playing this. So I'm just going to play just this A major. And I'm just doing up and downs here, down and ups, you know, lightly muted and very lightly sort of just strummed. the more I mute, or even the pressure on my left hand, that will sort of determine how clean and how sort of squishy and chunky the kind of sound is. So I'm just going to put the chord down with my left hand, and here just is a muting with my right. If I even take my hand off, so with the A major, those kind of upstrokes often catching the third string, sometimes the second. We kind of get the meat on the downstroke, the kind of openness. And so we'll just play through that kind of sort of feel a couple of times, just like the cycle of chords. You know, even we can just kind of chugging a little bit away with downstrokes. So with that kind of in mind, let's do something with a bit more accents, which is like on the record version. So let's think. Oh. Sometimes the end before the chorus, or sometimes halfway through the verse. When we go to this D, we'll sometimes get this kind of a bring it back again kind of slide, but you know, different rhythm. So you could also even that kind of accented thing. Sorry, how is it? You could. That's kind of with this kind of panicky downstroke thing. You could also do that as down and up, similar to before. Let's think. It's a little bit, I mean, that's kind of feels a bit more sloppy to me. If you really want those accents kind of powerful, yeah, I guess it's better with the downs there. You could do the down and ups for that more kind of so that's kind of that side of it. Sometimes we could just play through with just, let's think. So that kind of strummed idea, if you've seen my tutorial on Chains Around Your Heart, that kind of picking idea is a very typical picking pattern for Brian. You know, if like on this E chord there, kind of applying that idea kind of to all the chords. So it's very typical. You know, that's probably even similar. Let's think in like the bridge or you know the middle part in Gina. You know, rhythmically or chord-wise, there's a lot in common with Give It To Me and Gina. But that kind of picking idea, very typical in a lot of Brian. You know, that's really one of the things I probably learnt in the early days, and it's kind of stuck with me. But it's in so much of his playing. This. So let's look at what I'm going to do is play through the verse, kind of. Excuse me. Oh God, I hope that didn't come through too hard. Sorry. I'm going to play through the verse with a bit more of the kind of chunky attack accent things for two times maybe. And then kind of the second half more of the picked thing. And maybe even use some of the other chords from before, like how I've seen him do, or how we do it live. So, another time he'll often do sort of, and the third time round in the verse, when we'll move to this to that we kind of get that kind of descending. That's like Three Blind Mice. So yeah, I mean, sometimes in the chorus, actually think about on the last from the E back to the A, or sort of open 6, 2nd fret 6, 4th fret 6th, and open A, or just open 6th, 2nd fret 6th, open 6th again to the A. I think they're more on the overdubs because he doesn't really seem to play that live. But yeah, I mean, it can be nice now and again. So I think they're really the main kind of things he does when it comes to playing chords for this. You know, listen to the record, watch any live versions, you know, like Rock Tokyo. There might be a few versions live on there. And just sort of just try to pick up on some, you know, the different kind of rhythmical things he might do. So I'm just going to play through it a couple of times and try and just throw some of those things in. And then obviously the solo is just over the verse kind of pattern. So let's think. Yeah, even I made a terrible move into that chord sometimes. My finger, I think I said my third finger, I have a problem with this, and oh my god, sometimes it move into that chord, so it was a bit of a disaster. But it's got a nice kind of voice leading thing. I like when Brian uses that. Even that idea, I think we did a lesson, what was the Waiting for Desiree, Can't Stand Losing You. Even in that, well, look, again, sort of similar kind of chords, the way it's played in that, and he does this kind of, it's kind of really to make some of the transitions a bit more intense with that kind of voice leading. So, right, we'll give that a try. I absolutely love playing along to this track and sort of playing around with sort of different rhythms. And, don't play them too hard. The general sort of rhythm, sort of save that for when, sort of build up intensity with how hard you're strumming for some of the more transitional things, even if that's going from like, the second to the third time of playing, or when, like when Brian. So give it a try anyway, and remember, Brian, his rhythm playing is absolutely phenomenal. Practice a lot just this kind of idea. It's so fundamental. I mean, two things actually. The picking. Just look at the chains around your hat tutorial for the kind of tabs and the picking, just to get an idea of what strings. It's really, really one of the sort of key things that Brian's playing. Or in that song itself. Or like I said, in G now. And then the other thing, which is more, is kind of very lightly muted and lightly kind of picked. Kind of squishy thing, that's another thing really key to Brian's style. Right, so we'll have fun and take care, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.